area involving rectangles and triangles. All right, so a right triangle is removed from a rectangle to create the shaded region below. Find the area of the shaded region. Be sure to include the correct unit in your answer. So we need to know two things. We need to know, how do we find the area of a rectangle? Oh, gotta click on this one. So how do you find the area of a rectangle? And in this case, it would be length times width. In any case, sorry, it's length times width. And then we also need to know how to find the area of a triangle. So the area of a triangle is 1/2 length times width. Or we tend to call that base times height when we're talking about a triangle, but it means the same thing. So as long as we have a 90-degree, that's our length and our width when we're talking about a triangle. And the main thing we also want to know is after we find these two, so we have a total rectangle, which is blue. That's what I'm writing in blue. And then we have a triangle, which will work out in red. Remember, we're removing the triangle. So once we have our two amounts, we need to make sure we subtract so that we have only the shaded region. That's why we have to find the triangle so that we know how much to take away. All right, so let's go ahead and click Start. And so I'm going to rewrite this a little bit lower. Whoop. Forgot to grab my pencil tool. I'm just losing my mind here. I don't know why I put an equal sign there. Equals length times width. And area, triangle equals 1/2 length times width. All right. So this way I can get this out of my way because it's kind of right in the middle of my picture and everything there. All right, so we have a rectangle again, and we're cutting a triangle out of it. So let's go ahead and start working this out. So we need the area of the rectangle. Well, we need to know what is length and width. When we're talking about a rectangle, we just go length, width. Would it matter if I said length is the side and width is the top? Not at all. So I'm just going to go 9 times 6 or 6 times 9. It doesn't matter which one you do because either way, you get 54. All right, so now we're going to do the area of the triangle, and we get 1/2 length times width. So for this little triangle piece here, we do need to pay attention because they're showing us this is 6 and the whole side is 9. So they're trying to get you to understand you need to fill it in. So if this is 6 and the whole side is 9, well, this piece needs to be 3. And then they do the same thing here. So they're showing you this piece is 3, but this whole other side on the left is 6. So this also has to be 3 because the sides have to match. So if this side is 6, this side has to equal 6. If this side is 9 for the top, then the bottom has to equal 9 because that's how rectangles work. Left and right, top and bottom match. All right, so now we have our length and our width. And because it's a rectangle, I know that that corner is a 90. So I have 3 times 3, and I get 1/2 times, it's a little easier to go 3 times 3, so I get 9. And let's see. So I can already kind of see we're going to end up with a fraction here because 1/2 of 9 is going to be, and I wonder if they'll let us do it as a decimal. They might. So I'm going to do 1/2 of 9, but I can't necessarily do that. So I'm just going to put 9 divided by 2 just for a moment. But I want to subtract these. So that's why I kind of wanted to try. If I actually turn this into a decimal, I get 4.5. And now if I go 54 minus 4.5, like this, I subtract. Just remember there's a decimal right past this 4 and a 0. So I want to start borrowing. I get 5, and then I'm going to borrow again. And I get 9, and I get 4. So I wonder if they'll let me do this. We'll try it. They might not let me do it, but it's our very first one. So hey, getting a little bit wrong on that very first one, you don't really lose any points because you don't have any points to lose yet. So really, this is the first one to kind of test out and see if you can do something because you're not going to lose any points for it. So 49.5, and then I'm doing area So I want to do squared because it's yards times yards. So let's see, will they let me do it? They gave it to me. So they're giving me the fraction option in case I leave it as a fraction, but you are welcome to change it from a fraction if you want to. So that's kind of nice that they're letting me do it either way. So I'm going to erase this stuff. I was going to try to leave my formulas there at the bottom just so that we still can reference them. Takes me just a second here. All right. Let's go next. And all right, so let's do, so this time we have a triangle and we want to take the rectangle away. So let's do area of a triangle first. Whoa, I forgot to change the size of the pen. Let's bring that back down. And let's do red since we're doing the area of a triangle. So area of a triangle equals 1/2. Remember, it's length times width. So as long as we have a 90, and because there's a rectangle in here, I know that that's a 90-degree angle. We have, let's see. And I'm wondering, I think, I'm going to guess on this one just a little. I think the 6 only refers to this length here. And I have to remember that 2 is going to be the same on the top and bottom, so there's actually another 2 here. So the whole base is actually 8. I have to add 6 and 2 together. And then they're doing the same thing here, so I'm pretty darn sure this 5 only applies to this piece here. So I have to make sure, because there's another 4 on this side. So it's 9 altogether. So that's going to equal 1/2. 9 times 8 is 72. And then I want to know what is half of 72. So I'm going to divide 72 by 2. And it's even, so I know it will divide evenly here. So I'm going to go, let's see, it goes in 3 times for 6. And then I have 2 and 1, so it goes in 6 times for 12. And I have nothing left over, which is kind of what I wanted there. So I know the area of my rectangle is 36. As long as I haven't read this incorrectly, I'm pretty darn sure that's what they're doing. Seems a little tricky to me to do that to you, but I think that's what they're doing here. So let's find the area of the rectangle. So we have base times height. So 2 times 4 gives me 8. So I want to take 36 and I want to take 8 away from it. I'm taking the rectangle away. So if I subtract that away, I get 28. All right, let's try this. 28, and then it's going to be feet squared. Okay, that is exactly what they did. So they did intend us to notice that there were extra pieces in there. So again, a little bit tricky on the part of the program, but it's just one of those things. They do expect you to notice that they didn't label the whole side 6, only the solid line was 6. Okay, so let's go ahead and do one more of these. Okay, so now we have another triangle, and we're cutting out a rectangle right here in the middle. So for whatever reason, that's kind of an odd shape that we're cutting out right in the middle, but that works. Oh, goodness gracious. I keep forgetting to change the size of the pen again. Okay, area of the triangle equals 1/2 base times height. And remember, we're looking for this right angle here for base and height. So base and height are the two that create that right angle. So it doesn't matter which one's base, it doesn't matter which one's height. If we're looking at a right angle, it's just one is base and one is height. So I went with 9 for base and 10 for height. So now we're going to have 1/2 times 90, and I want half of 90. So I'm going to divide by 2, and I get, let's see, 4 and 0 and 1, and then I get 5 for 10, and I get nothing left over. So my triangle has an area of 45. So now I need the area of my rectangle, and this is just length times width. So again, it doesn't matter which one is length and which one is width, you just decide length, width, and then we're going to multiply. So 5 times 1. Well, that equals 5. Remember, we're taking the triangle away, so I'm just going to subtract. So I have 40. And remember that you needed to choose your unit, and it's area, so it's squared because it's meters times meters. Because for triangle, I did 9 meters times 10 meters. So that's 45 meters squared. For area of a triangle or rectangle, I did 5 meters times 1 meter, which was 5 meters squared. So each time when you were over here, and I didn't write it out over here when we were doing the math problem, but it was meter squared, meter squared. So my answer is still meter squared at the end. All right, we finished another one. Yay.